Fandango. It is the title song of the new Herb Alpert album. It's nice to be in the business where you make your own albums. He is vice chairman of the board of A&M Records. The Herb Alpert story is an incredible one. We shall delve into it. What or how, before we move to current days, did the Tijuana Brass start?
Well, it really started with an idea. There was a record long before there was a group. The idea started 20 years ago this year. In Tijuana, 1962, it was my first bullfight.
You went to the bullfight?
I went to the bullfight. I saw Carlos Alrusa, and he was one of the greatest, not matadors, they called him a rejoneador because he fought on horseback. He fought Spanish style. He came out on this white horse, and he had the reins attached to his waist, never touched the reins with his hands, just gave the horse directions by the movement of his body. And he proceeded to fight 5 or 6 bulls that afternoon. I was totally in awe. It was one of those magical afternoons. And prior to that, I never listened to mariachi music or Latin music, really, other than maybe Cal Jader, let's say. I was very much affected by the feeling of that whole experience. And I tried to translate that into a sound, into a record, into a sound that would be able to conjure up thoughts and images for people. I wanted to re-experience that afternoon. So a friend of mine had this tune called Twinkle Star that I translated to The Lonely Bull, recorded it with about 5 musicians.
Called it the Tijuana Brass?
Well, first we recorded it, and it was, I played piano, played all the trumpet parts, played the percussion parts, and did the voices in back. And then I thought it was missing one element, is the sounds, the actual sounds of the corrida, the sounds of the bull arena. So I had a friend go down to Tijuana, capture the oles, and put that on top of the intro and exit of the song. So it started out with the actual feeling that I felt that special moment. When we finished the record, we felt it had, unique qualities. My partner wanted to give it a name that would have, that people would remember. And since it was, the idea was conceived in Tijuana, he said, how about Tijuana Brass? And I was a little skeptical at first because I didn't want to mislead people. I didn't want people to think it was this Latin group and I was, some gringo imposter. But nevertheless, we used the name, and it's been, that was the start of it.
We'll be right back with Herb Alpert. The new album is... Before you went to that arena that day, we didn't know you around America. What was Herb Alpert doing? Were you a studio musician? Were you in the record business? What were you doing before Lonely Bull?
Right before Lonely Bull, I was studying acting for about a year with Jeff Corey. Back up 3 years prior to that, I was in partners with a gentleman named Lou Adler, and we were working for a company in Los Angeles called Keene Records. And I learned a great deal from the late, great Sam Cooke, the art of making a record, and how to listen to a record, and how to not be intellectual about the process, just to get a feeling for it. And he used to say to me, we're just dealing with a cold piece of wax here, and it either really does something to you or it doesn't, and you can't analyze it when it does or when it doesn't.
You were a record producer?
I was a record producer, right.
Were you also all this time a trumpet player?
I started playing when I was 8. I studied formally for 12 years. I played in those symphony orchestras. I worked my way through school playing, and then I realized around the mid-50s that there was another art form that turned me on. It was jazz. I started listening to Miles Davis, Louis Armstrong, and the late Clifford Brown. And I liked very much the idea of just being able to close my eyes and just play whatever notes came out, opposed to, in symphonic work you adhere to, what the composer had in mind. You try and play it as closely as his intentions were, but in jazz you get a chance just to be yourself and just to express whatever's...
Did you record as a jazz artist?
No, not really. I don't consider myself a mainline jazz artist, but I have those leanings. I approach music from that point of view.
like the feeling in the bull ring and bringing that to
Yeah, I just, I never look at the music when I'm playing, when I'm recording, and I just try and tap my insides, see if I can put myself in the right environment, the right frame of mind, and play.
So sitting in that bull ring that day, you were working for another company?
No, that day was...
You were studying acting?
I was studying acting. It was prior to A&M. It was just an afternoon outing, you know, and it was just a memorable moment. I was inspired when I got back home. I made a little studio out of a small two-car garage that I had in Los Angeles. I built a room inside a room, which had a piano and a couple tape recorders. And pop music in that particular period, there were quite a few singers who were experimenting with overdubbing their own voice on top of their voice and singing harmonies, singing backgrounds to their own voice. So I started doing this with the trumpet. And I noticed when I started detuning the instrument, like pulling the slide out a little bit to make it a little flatter, sometimes make it a little sharper, I would get this, you know, this odd modulation, this odd quality that that was the sound I was pursuing. Essentially, that's the sound of the Tijuana Brass.
After the success of Lonely Bull, did you then form a group called the Tijuana Brass?
No, there was a little bit of a lull because the Lonely Bull happened in 1962. Then there was a period for about 2 years when the records were not very successful east of the Rockies. In Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, the records were selling, and most of our distributors felt that it was just a territorial sound because of our close proximity to Mexico, and the Tijuana Brass days were numbered. But I kept pursuing because I felt there was something in the sound.
By this time, you'd started A&M.
Oh, A&M started with The Lonely Bull. That was the first record released on A&M Records. But I kept pursuing the sound, and there was somewhat of a market on the West Coast for it. But while I was doing this album in 1964, South of the Border, there was a tune there called Mexican Shuffle, which was heard by the Clark Teaberry Gum Company. And they pursued me, wanting me to do that for a commercial of theirs, which I did. And I think because of that, it gave the brass sound national exposure. Right after that came a song called Whipped Cream, which was a moderate hit. It was a tune that was written for Alpert. Alpert turned it down, and the publisher called me, played it for me over the phone from New Orleans. I liked it very much. He sent it to me. He sent it the next afternoon. I recorded it, and my partner got the idea of taking a collection of food titles and putting them in one album. In that album was Tangerine, A Taste of Honey, Lemon Tree, Whipped Cream, and Other Delights.
Now, this is still studio musicians?
Still studio musicians of my choice.
There is no group?
No group. Taste of Honey was the record that I chose to release as a single because I felt, you know, when you work on a product for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, this was the song that I kept singing while taking a shower in the morning, and at odd times it would just pop into my head. And most of the feedback that I got from playing this record to friends in the business, they felt it was not a hit record because it stopped in the middle and you couldn't dance to it, and it didn't adhere to some of the rules that they were looking for. But yet I felt emotionally that it was a good record. Well, we put it out and it became, you know, a huge record. In fact, it won the Record of the Year Grammy. So from that point forward, it was time to form a group because there was an obvious
and that
audience.
group played rooms and clubs and toured?
Well, we kind of bypassed clubs. Well, we played one club in Seattle as a break-in, the Edgewater Inn in Seattle. And then from that point forward, we were playing in big arenas and concerts, traveling around the world. And
you had trouble finding musicians for the group?
No, that was rather easy. There were a lot of people that were approaching me. They wanted to be in the group, and it was a heck of an experience. It was.
Someone once said that every great decision, not just musical decision, great decision, was basically gut.
Oh,
as
well.
Opposed to let's sit down and draw up the papers.
Yeah, well, I run my life by that. period. I hope I'll never change.
Did you start the record company that way, too? We got this
Well,
record.
you know, I did, and my viewpoint from the record company is exactly that. I choose not to get too involved into, you know, reading all the trades and seeing what all the research tells you and how you're supposed to, what the trends are, and yeah, I think that's just, it bogs you down. And the only way I can operate is, you know, if I hear a group I like them. I don't know why. If I hear a song I like, that's it.
How big is A&M?
Well, it's the largest independent record company in the world. We have about 49 affiliates throughout the world. We have offices in Los Angeles, New York, Toronto, London, Paris.
Did you ever envision that?
Never, no. We started out with one record and it snowballed. It snowballed gracefully, too. We worked out of my garage for 3 months, Jerry Moss, my partner, and I, and we started on $100 apiece. After that, we moved to a little office on Sunset Boulevard, and we gathered about 33 employees, and from there we moved into the old Charlie Chaplin home, Sunset La Brea, where we live now.
That's the office.
That's the main office in Hollywood.
When you think of yourself as a success, what comes first, musician, record executive?
For sure, musician.
First musician.
Oh, I mean, without question. That's where I live. I love to make music.
Now, during the years when Herb Alpert was a tremendous hit through the 60s, into the early 70s, and then another era of music came along. We didn't hear much from you. Were you recording all the time?
I was recording. I took a bit of time off around 1969. I disbanded the first Tijuana brass group, and then I needed a chance for the dust to settle and just see what happened, because a heck of a lot happened in a short period of time. Around 1972, I started recording again. In 1974, I had a request from the Queen of England, indirectly, to play a command performance, which really excited me. So I gathered another group together, not the musicians in the first group, and started touring again for about a year and a half. Played this command performance, which was an exciting event for me. It was something I had looked forward to. In fact, I remember after the concert, and I felt the concert came up rather well. There were an enormous amount of artists on the concert. Tom Jones, Ginger Rogers, and I think Gilbert Bécaud. Anyways, I was downstairs in the dressing room, and I got this note slipped back that the Queen requested to see me, that's the honor, you know, that when the Queen requested, that meant that she enjoyed the concert. So I stand in line and I meet Prince Charles and, or Prince Philip, I mean, and Prince Philip he said, oh, I enjoy your record. I listen to him in the den every night, you know, and I picture this den in Windsor Castle, you know, where's this den, you know? So as I met the Queen, and she was very gracious. She told me how much she liked my music. By this time, I was really feeling pumped up, and I felt like, gee, this is really a highlight in my life. And I go outside, and there was, you know, 300, 400, 500 people outside, and I was about ready to get into the car, and these two old ladies were kind of chatting. They said, I don't believe I recognize that chap. And one lady leaned to her friend and said, I think that's Sergio Mendes, you know, which kind of brought me right back down.
Yeah, I always take you down.
Yeah.
The Rise recording.
Uh-huh.
We only have a minute to do these headlines. How'd that come about?
Well, it's a tune written by my nephew, Randy Alpert, and his friend, Andy Armour. I heard the song. I fell in love with it. I thought it was a very romantic melody, and I sensed that there's a lack of romance on the radio. I was very aware that disco music was in, and I was trying to make not a disco record, but a dance record.
Wasn't it used in a soap opera, too?
Well, it was later picked up by, I guess...
But the rape scene in General Hospital?
General Hospital, yes. They used it, I think, quite often as a running theme.